What's up, everybody? Take His Whistle podcast is back with another NFL episode. We got a good one on our hands. A lot of stuff happened on week 10, and then there's some really big matchups week 11. So sit back, relax, get on your grind, and just stay tuned.
Steps into it. Pass is caught. Touchdown! Play clock at 5. Pass
Back today, so I got time to be tripping and writing no love song. Yeah, writing no love song. We all experience love loss. Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Take His Whistle podcast is back. My name is Parker, as always, and then I am with my co-host, Josh.
What's up, everybody?
And we have another NFL episode. A lot of things happened this week 10, especially playing off of last week. Different things that we talked about kind of really played a big factor in this past week. Josh, is there anything that you would like to start with?
Excuse me. Yeah, the one glaring thing that popped out to me from last week is just the continued success of CJ Stroud. He just continues to impress and is continuing to look like the runaway for Rookie of the Year, at least offensively. But honestly, just in general, he is probably the best rookie so far.
I mean, not even just the best rookie, but I mean, is it too crazy to and I know I said it last week, but legitimately put him in the MVP conversation?
I see. The only problem I have with that is that, he is a rookie, so it is really weird to be having a rookie in that conversation. But he's putting up the stats to back it up. So it's not like it's something that if you said it, unless they just, aren't familiar with stats and everything like that, it's something that's very plausible. You could definitely throw him in there because, he's just having an outstanding season. 2,626 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions is just, especially on a team like the Texans, that is, that's just insane. He's having a fantastic season.
And looking just overall at not just his stats, but just quarterback stats in general, he's second in the league in passing yards, which I didn't know who was number one. It's Sam Howell. I didn't know. I knew he was having a pretty solid season for quarterback stat wise, but I didn't know it was that good. But Stroud is second in the NFL in passing yards. He is right up there with some of the best in touchdowns. He's got 15 touchdowns, so it's not something where you were like, okay, he's top notch, but he's right there with them. And then 2 interceptions. That's it. Just 2 interceptions. For a quarterback coming into the NFL and you're put on a pretty subpar team on the Texans, and to put up these type of numbers, something that really Deshaun Watson could not do in his time in Houston, it's pretty impressive, especially when you put Bryce Young, who was the number 1 overall pick, and CJ Stroud up against each other, like head to head, just they're matching their stats. CJ Stroud is just like the clear best quarterback out of that draft class, and it's not even close at all anymore.
Yeah, if you look at his stats, you look at his interceptions, and out of all the starters that have started the season from week 1, he has the least amount of interceptions. And in my opinion, if people are going to put Josh Allen in the MVP conversation, you have to put CJ Stroud in there because Josh Allen leads the league in interceptions, and CJ Stroud is only 4 touchdowns behind him, has significantly less interceptions, and has 26 more passing yards after this most recent week. So, if people are going to put Josh Allen in there, then I just feel like it's only fair. But we haven't seen rookie quarterback play like this in a while. I honestly can't name the last one except for maybe Patrick Mahomes. And even then he didn't start in his rookie year. So
Andrew Luck might have had. I still think I still think Stroud has better stats than Andrew Luck, but I think Andrew Luck had a pretty amazing rookie year.
Andrew Luck did pretty outstanding in his rookie year. Yeah, you're right. But this is something that we just haven't seen before. I mean, he's just and oh, never mind. Sorry, the bye week. I was about to say, and he missed a game, but he didn't. He just
what is
he had his
just
bye week already.
like you said, to like the normal NFL fan, they'll be like, oh, he's a rookie. He'll probably win Rookie of the Year, not be in the MVP conversation. And I think it is just because we never see quarterback play and our quarterback rookie play the way that Stroud is playing. And I've always said it, and I'll continue to preach it. When you are looking at college to professional, any sport, it is football that takes the longest and the hardest to transition from college to professional. These guys are professional. The professional NFL players are on a whole different level than NFL players. Our NFL professional players are on a whole other level as college players. So to see someone like Stroud be up there with your Josh Allens, your Patrick Mahomes, things like players like that, it's so weird to see and such a just oddity that no one even thinks about putting them in the MVP conversation because you're like that can't be real.
Yeah, just an insane rookie season from him, and I mean, he has a QBR of 63.3, which is that's fairly high, especially for a rookie. And then sack-wise, he's been sacked less than some of the biggest names at the position. He's been sacked less than Lamar, who is agile, who is just about as agile, probably the most agile quarterback. Let's be honest here. Like, if you're sacking Lamar, then you know what I mean. Like Lamar knows how to get out of there, and he's been sacked less than Jalen Hurts, who has the best O-line in the game. I mean, like, just the way he can keep plays alive, his vision downfield, and just his decision making has looked so good this season. And I honestly, if anybody else were to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, I would call it a fluke because I just don't think anybody else deserves it as much as C.J. Stroud does.
I wouldn't even call it a fluke. I would just call it a straight up poor decision on the NFL. I mean, there's nobody. I mean, maybe if Cooper Kupp never came back, maybe Puka could be in that running potentially because he was having a crazy start to the season. But just thinking of offensive rookies, there's nobody that even comes close to Stroud. Stroud is, not only is he a good player, he's already put himself into the elite category.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely.
But I do know, you said something about Josh Allen and his interceptions. Obviously they lost to the Denver Broncos yesterday, Monday. And then they come out this morning and they fire their offensive coordinator. Why is Buffalo struggling so much with such an elite offense that they have?
Listen, I don't know. I might get hate for this because it's a hot take. At least I would imagine so.
Okay.
But when you have a quarterback who everyone considers to be elite of the elite, top 5 in the league, maybe top 3. That quarterback is not going to have an interception per game average. Josh Allen, this year, every game so far, you can practically guarantee that he will throw an interception in every single game every week. Mm-hmm. You can almost guarantee he will throw an interception. And at what moment in time do you say that is a problem, that he is a problem? because I think there are players on that team, specifically, namely Diggs, who maybe is already seeing that and maybe wants to get out of there. Because as good of a dude Josh Allen is, and yes, he is a good player. He's a great quarterback. But if he's throwing an interception every game, almost guaranteed, if not already guaranteed, at what point are you saying, man, that's a problem? Like, something's got to change, or we will replace you.
You know,
I know that's an intense example as far as like replacing him, but I mean, they can't be happy, especially Bills fans. And I know Bills fans probably ride or die for Josh Allen because of the way he brought them out of the mud. But
right.
I mean, guys, seriously, he hasn't gone a season without throwing double-digit picks, except for 2019, where he almost cracked the double-digit mark and he threw 9 interceptions. Other than that, he has not gone a single season without throwing 10 or more interceptions, and that's crazy to me.
And to speak on that part where you talked about Diggs maybe wanting to go somewhere else, there was another article that I was kind of reading up on today with his brother Trayvon Diggs for the Cowboys, the cornerback. He basically, quote unquote, was like, "We got to get you out of there," meaning that Diggs' career, unfortunately, as good as a receiver as he is, he's one of the best in the league. He is being faulted by his quarterback. And there's only so much that the receiver can do, you know. He can only get so wide open and still be missed. So I want to ask you this: if you're starting a franchise, you're starting a team, and your 2 quarterbacks that you can pick from is Josh Allen or Dak Prescott, who would you pick?
I'm taking Josh Allen. I'm taking Josh Allen every day. Yeah.
Even though Prescott can light up any team any given Sunday.
See, that's the thing, though, is that he has shown, both of these QBs have shown that is not true. Like, that they can't light up any team any given Sunday. They could. That's what I'm saying.
But
you could say that for every QB, though. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you just had these 2, no other quarterbacks, just these 2, you're still picking Josh Allen?
It depends. It depends what the rest of my team looks like. Because if my team is like, if I'm looking like the Chiefs, where I only have a Travis Kelce, or even no Travis Kelce, if I just have kind of an okay receiving room, like I don't really, have anybody that's like, has a name for themselves, I'm taking Josh Allen, because I think Josh Allen has more potential to bring out the stardom in other people, more so than Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is he leans heavily on having guys like CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks.
He's a system guy.
Yeah, and I think in other words, I think Josh Allen is more of a guy that will win you games when he's on, whereas Dak Prescott is more of a guy who will not lose you games.
Agreed.
If you get what I'm saying.
No, yeah, definitely. I if I was in that situation where I had to pick one of those 2 quarterbacks, I would as well take Josh Allen. Simply
also, just Josh Allen's rushing ability is, quite frankly, pretty damn good. So that also adds a lot of value to me.
He's a big boy. He's a big body.
Yeah.
And then also Dak Prescott proves that he cannot win in the fourth quarter. But no, yeah, I think that for me, I don't know if it's Josh Allen. It's like, his job's on the line type of thing. And just because that, yeah, he does throw a lot of interceptions, but he is still a very elite quarterback. He still is lighting up teams, like we both said. He obviously against the Broncos on Monday he did not, but and it also could just be they have a lot of weapons. Like obviously Diggs, they have Gabe Davis, who is a really good receiver, Dalton Kincaid. They have a lot of weapons there, but I think Josh Allen just needs to relax more. He is so worked up on making the big time plays. And you could even see it. You could see it. it's like they'll let James Cook run the ball on first down, maybe even second down, and then Allen is just throwing a deep ball. He's trying to make a 20-plus yard play instead of just trying to get that 5 to 8 yard completion for a first down. I think that he likes the spotlight. He likes making the highlight plays, and he's trying to do too much instead of just letting it come to him naturally.
Yeah, I agree. But a big thing for me is, last year he had a pretty good season last year, 35 touchdowns, 4,283 yards, but he threw 14 interceptions. He was fifth in the league in interceptions. Let's see here. Hold on. Sorry. The year before that, he was third in the league in interceptions. The year before that, he actually had a pretty damn good year in 2020. But my point being is, for the past 3 years, he has been in the top 5 in interceptions in the league. And I just can't seem to find it in me to say that that's acceptable. And if you look at when he's throwing those interceptions, let's be honest, a lot of them are in pretty big moments. Like, you want to take a look at it last year in that game against the Vikings. Now, it was mid-season, and so neither team really needed that win. Or obviously a loss hurts, but neither team needed that win, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he threw an interception in overtime, and pretty much, that gave the Vikings the win. The playoffs, he's shown constantly that he can't come to play in the playoffs. And that's
except for that 1 year against Kansas City that they lost on that coin flip. I think whoever would have won that coin flip in overtime was
that one was not his fault. That was just the luck of the draw for sure. But it's just annoying. It's just annoying to me because I like Josh Allen. I think he's good. I think he's really good. But the interceptions, I just can't ignore them. I just can't. When you're leading the league in interceptions, and you're also not really torching teams like you kind of have been the past couple years, maybe it's a little now. And this is, every QB has a rough season. Every QB kind of has off days, but Josh Allen's kind of having not necessarily an exact season as Jameis Winston, but he's having a very Jameis Winston-like season right now.
But my argument to that is, you look at as a quarterback position as a whole in the NFL, you look at who has the most interceptions, and obviously Josh Allen does have that one. But then you scroll down just a little bit, you see guys like Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, all with right behind Allen as far as interceptions thrown. So, and even if you look at last year, Josh Allen finished with 14 interceptions. Mahomes was right there with 12, right? So,
right.
Is it necessarily Josh Allen, or is it just the NFL shifting the play style a little bit? Like at the beginning of the season, and I know me and you had this talk before about the running back situation. Running backs are not being paid as much as they should be, and a big reason is because a lot of teams are starting to fall back from using the running back as much as they probably should. And what are we seeing from that? Way more interceptions, way more turnovers. Mm-hmm. I think it all just makes a full circle that some of these elite quarterbacks are throwing more and more interceptions every year, but yet at the same time, those are the same teams that don't necessarily have a stud running back. I mean, mm-hmm. Josh Allen has James Cook, who's good. All these players are good, but, like that elite running back. Jalen Hurts, he has DeAndre Swift. Mahomes has Isaiah Pacheco. All those guys they're just more or less weapons for Mahomes instead of their own position. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I
And
guess
so,
my only thing is my only problem is if you look at Mahomes, you look at Jalen Hurts, you look at those guys, their interceptions come in bulk games. And what I mean by that is they'll have like one or two really bad games. And you'll see what I mean if you look at their schedules. With Hurts, he had a very bad game against the Jets. They lost that game. He threw 2 picks in that game. He had a pick earlier in the year against the Bucks. He threw 3 in that game, I believe. You know what I mean? So he has on the season he has 8, I believe. That's 5 right there. My problem with Josh Allen, if you look at his games, again, quite literally an interception or more every game. In the past 6 games, he has not gone a game without throwing a pick. And
that's pretty crazy.
That's a problem. That is a problem.
Yeah, I know. I think Mahomes is very similar. Now, I genuinely think that the Bills have a better offensive roster than the Chiefs do. And I've said this since the beginning of the season. Literally, all Mahomes has is Kelsey.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I'd say Pacheco too, but obviously he's a running back, so like he's not a part of that passing game as much as blaringly as Kelsey. But Pacheco is very good.
He is. Yeah. He's very good. But yeah, like just receivers as an all. If usually, but Pacheco's more of a check down player,
right?
And he turns it into something bigger. But Mahomes, almost every game this season, he's thrown an interception. This past 2 week, no, he was there on bye this past week, but the week before that, he did not throw an interception, but he fumbled the ball twice, and both of those were lost fumbles. So, I mean, Mahomes, who is, in my opinion, I would say it's your opinion too, is he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
He as well is a extremely, extremely, extremely turnover prone player. Do you think that's simply just because he doesn't have that many weapons?
You know, I'm not sure. Because
and technically he has thrown less touchdowns than Allen too this year.
Right. I just think his ratio is better because right now he's at 17 for 8, which is only 2 touchdowns behind Josh Allen.
And
but
3 interceptions.
3 interceptions.
Right.
When you look at it for a QB, passing touchdowns should be easier than interceptions. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
definitely.
that 2 touchdown gap is way easier to cover than that 3 interception gap.
I agree.
But yeah, I completely get your point, and I agree. I agree. I guess I don't know. You know, when we see Mahomes, when we talk about Mahomes, I get it is the same. It is the same thing as Allen. You see both of them just taking risks a lot to try to put their team over the edge, to make something happen. We see them do it all the time, and sometimes it doesn't pay off. Sometimes it does. And obviously when it does, it makes ESPN. And when it doesn't make any headlines because, we don't want to bash them. But yeah, they're very comparable as far as like risk factor goes. And I don't mean that they're like boom or bust type players. They're both very good players. But I just mean as in like the plays they make can sometimes be very questionable and very unsafe at times.
Agreed. Well, on the other side of the spectrum for Monday Night Football, Broncos. They put out the game-winning field goal win to beat the Bills. And all of a sudden, we are looking at a Broncos team that is on a 3-game win streak. They are now 4-5 on the year. All of a sudden, when people were starting to write off the Broncos, saying Russell Wilson has to go, they need a fire sale. They need to get rid of everybody, start from the scratch again. The Broncos, man, and their quality wins too. They beat the Chiefs and now the Bills. What in the world? Where is this coming from? I love it. Me personally, I am an absolute. I love seeing this Broncos team succeed because I grew up kind of one of the players that really got me into football was Russell Wilson. And so, like, for that, I am always going to be a Russell Wilson fan, regardless of the countless of cringe that he does produce. I do enjoy watching and cheering for Russell Wilson, and I love seeing them finally kind of put things together.
Yeah, I mean, they're just, I don't know what happened, but they kind of flipped the switch a little bit, it seems, and they've just done so well. And, like, and it's weird, too, because if you look at the stats, like, Russell Wilson has been playing good, to be fair. Like, he, in the last 3 on their win streak, he's done reasonably okay. But Javonte Williams has done outstanding running the ball in the last 3 games.
Yes.
And, Sutton is just catching every end zone pass that gets thrown to him. Like, he's just a touchdown merchant. Literally, if Sutton is in the end zone, I'm sure Russ could just throw it to Sutton and Sutton would catch it. Like, I don't know if you've watched many of their games, but I swear Sutton has not dropped a touchdown pass this year. Like, I don't know what's going on. And their defense has seemingly stepped up pretty big too. I mean, now, and I don't mean like, in a sense as of they're not allowing points. Obviously, they're allowing points, but like their defense is stepping up big in times of need. So, for example, in that game against Green Bay, they win 19-17. Defense steps up, gets them the win. The game against the Bills, defense steps up, gets them the win. And then obviously Russ is able to lead them down and get the field goal. Or I kind of tuned out at the end of the game, so I'm not actually 100% sure how that game ended. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, the defense is stepping up, which is always a good sign. And like you said, I'm a Russ fan too. He, no matter how cringe he can be, when I was a kid, watching him in the Legion of Boom on the other side of the ball was something that was always fun to watch every single week. So I will always enjoy Russ. I will always love Russ as a player. So it's really nice to see him, kind of being back, I guess, in a sense, because a lot of people wrote him off after last year and said he was washed.
Yeah, I know growing up, Russell Wilson was this generation's version of Lamar Jackson, which is crazy to say. But, I mean, at the time, he was one of the most mobile, fastest, most elusive quarterbacks in the league. And obviously he's not really scrambling the ball as much as he used to, but I mean, he was so much fun to watch back in his prime Seattle days. But you did say something about Javonte Williams, and I kind of want to take a second to talk about Javonte. He is one of the, in my opinion, one of the best true talented running backs in this league. The Broncos O-line is terrible. They are giving him no rushing protection whatsoever. If you sit there and watch them, he has no holes, he has no gaps. And Javonte continues to find yardage on a pretty average amount of carries, around that 20, 24, 5 range. And he's putting up good yards. Javonte Williams is one of the best, just straight running backs. He plays the game so properly. And he is, if the Broncos get even a little bit of help on that O-line, we're going to be talking about Javonte Williams being the best running back in the league. I guarantee it.
Yeah, it's nice to see him playing good too because, last year he suffered that brutal injury that took him out for the season, had to get surgery and all. And now he's back and he's playing really good. And, the last 3 games, he's at an average of about, let's say, 80 yards. And, that's good. He doesn't have a touchdown on the season yet, but I'm sure one will find him. Or no rushing touchdowns, sorry.
Right,
he has 2 receiving touchdowns. But, yeah, just like you said, he's a very good pure runner. and just just solid overall. And if that O-line was better, I'm sure he'd be doing better as well.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've seen it. I've only watched the Broncos like 3 or 4 times this year, but when I do watch Javonte run the ball, it is just like you can tell it's right there. You can tell that potential to put him into the next tier of running backs is there, and the kid's only 23 years old. He was born in 2000, which is crazy to think about. He's gonna be good. He's gonna be good for years to come if he can stay healthy.
Right. There's a player that I want to talk about just because earlier on in the season, I don't think I think a lot of people forgot about him. And now at this point in the season, I think he's kind of, looking at everyone going, "Hey, like, I'm still here." And I'm talking about Josh Jacobs. Beginning of the season looked like whatever happened last year was a fluke. Just, beginning of this season looked terrible. Couldn't find the end zone. Couldn't find any yards. He was averaging like 3 yards a carry. The last 2 weeks, though, ever since McDaniels got fired, he's gone for 98 yards and 116 yards. And in that game with 98 yards, he found the end zone twice. So, what is your opinion on Josh Jacobs, and how do you see him right now? Because right now he's currently third on the rushing leaders. So,
I think that he was just honestly misused, mismanaged. They didn't know exactly. He had a breakout year last year and kind of really put his name on the map. But I think that it's genuinely just him being mismanaged. They didn't know what he excels in, what he fails in, and now they know that we can run our offense, especially with a guy like Garoppolo, who is extremely interception prone. If he's really going to be our guy, that we can't be a pass first offense. We have to be practically a run first offense. And so if that means that Jacobs is getting almost 30 attempts a game, but they're winning, then so be it, obviously we saw this with Derrick Henry a couple years ago in Tennessee, and you could tell his body started to break down on him. So you can't overwork him. Like 27 attempts a game is not sustainable at all. But Josh Jacobs is the type of player that at his full potential, a offense can run through him. He can be the main focus of an offense, especially with somebody like that so much attention is already going to be on Devontae Adams.
Right.
And now you throw in that dual threat with Josh Jacobs. This goes back to our point that we talked about last week about Garoppolo, how good or bad Garoppolo can be or is. And I think that if they do, whether it's Garoppolo or another quarterback, if they do find that piece that kind of meshes well with all three of them, or the other two technically, we could see a really good offensive Las Vegas team. And I just think that Jacobs, if he stays healthy, is the answer at running back for Las Vegas, and he needs to be locked up on that team. I should say, not locked up in prison, but locked up on the team.
Yeah, I'd like to see some of these guys getting some contracts because some of them definitely deserve it for sure. A little fun fact that I noticed, mainly because I'm looking at the rushing leaders chart, the stats. Devon A-Chain has 38 attempts, 38 carries for 460 yards. So he has like 2 games of carries worth, I guess is a good way to put it. But it has 460 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's averaging 12.1 yards a carry. Obviously, he's been on IR for the last 4 or 5 weeks, so, obviously we haven't seen, his true numbers, I guess. But that, just looking at that, like, with my eyes was just kind of absurd.
Versus the Bills, he only had 8 carries. He had 8 carries for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns that game. What's crazy? What's crazy about that is he really. I mean, he will be at one point, but he really is not even the best running back on that team, and technically, he may not even be the second best running back on that team, and he's still putting up crazy numbers like that.
Yeah, he just I just don't know.
I think that
Yeah,
also has
I
to
just
do with
don't.
Miami's high-powered offense. Just
Yeah,
I think you
yeah.
put any quarterback in there, you could put Zeke in there at his old self, and he would still succeed at a high level. I think it's just Mike McDaniels is a football genius, or maybe he shouldn't get the credit. Maybe it's their offensive coordinator needs to get the credit.
Mike
But Miami,
McDaniels seems like the guy who gets his plays off of Madden, but at the same time is just a genius of the game.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's like once Andy Reid is long gone and retires, Mike McDaniels is going to be that guy that if it is with Miami or somewhere else, he is going to be that guy that is like, oh, if you have, you're definitely never going to start a defense playing against Mike McDaniel's team.
Yeah, hell no, hell no. Okay, so one more thing in Week 10, Parker. At least in my opinion, that I think is like the one of the most glaring things to talk about. Joshua Dobbs does it again for my favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings. What did you think about his performance?
I mean, dude, he just every single game. I mean, it's obviously it's only 2 games, so not that big of a sample size, but you continuously have hit it on the nail. Back when you said when the trade first happened, you were like, there is a chance that he could succeed in this offense, and he could be our answer to getting us to the playoffs and maybe even a longer term option. And he has done it. He's done every bit of that. He's doing everything. Now, with that being said, he was put into a great system with great players. Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson has emerged as being one of his favorite targets. Obviously, Dobbs is that man. He's that man, and Arizona. I think at the end of the day, Arizona is gonna end up kicking themselves because I don't think Kyler Murray is gonna be as good as he once was before he went down. I think they're gonna end up kicking themselves for getting rid of Dobbs.
Yeah, we'll see on that. I like to keep hope. And I like to keep hope in Kyler just because I like him. I like the way he plays. He has a nice arm too. I like watching him play. But yeah, I mean, we were 4-4, traded for Dobbs. Now we're 6-4 and second in the NFC North. 2 weeks ago, we were the bottom feeders of the NFC North. So, I mean, well, no, we weren't. The Bears are, but you get my point.
Don't need to be taking shots at the Bears.
Huh?
And putting the Bears on blast over here.
Yeah, because they suck.
Fair.
Yeah, but he's been with the Vikings for 2 games. He has 426 passing yards and 110 rushing yards. That is a hell of a stat line for a 2-game guy that's only been on the team for 2 games. That's a hell of a stat line to have. And
now, you being a Vikings fan, I want to throw this at you just because I want to hear your take on it. So I was watching a video earlier today talking about Justin Jefferson, and the reporter that did say that I was listening to, she said that there is a chance that Jettas does not return until week 14. Now, let's just fast forward to week 14, and Jefferson comes back. Let's just say the Vikings continue to succeed the way they have been. Do you see a increase in Justin Jefferson as far as his production, or do you see a decrease? Because you like Kirk Cousins had multiple years with Jettas. He learned what Jettas does best and how to really get the most out of Jettas. Right. Dobbs has only been there for 2 weeks now. You throw in another 3 weeks, he is starting to really get comfortable with guys like Hawkinson or Addison.
Right.
Then you throw in a elite receiver like Jefferson. I see that there's a chance that Jefferson struggles.
I disagree. I think if anybody's gonna take a hit in production, in my opinion, it's probably gonna be Addison. Just because he is that, like, he is the third target on the team with a healthy Jay Jettas, because the pecking order is Jay Jettas, Hawk, Addison. It just is what it is. But that's not saying that Addison's not good by any means. But what I am saying is that Jay Jettas is just so elite and one of, if not the best receiver in the league. And I think Dobbs knows that. And when Jay Jettas comes back, I'm positive that him and Jay Jettas have already worked together. But Dobbs already knows that he's elite. Jay Jettas knows he's elite. So, in my opinion, that connection is just going to be phenomenal. Obviously we're not going to have too much sample size to really see like how elite it could be, because when Jay Jettas does come back, we'll only have a few weeks left in the season, but we could see flashes of maybe one of the next big connections in the league with Dobbs and Jay Jettas, because I just don't see a guy like Jay Jettas taking a production hit at all.
I just kind of want to compare it to what's going on in Los Angeles with the Rams. Cooper Kupp obviously missed like the first 4 or 5 weeks, however much it was, and of the start of the season. And Nakua emerged as being a top receiver. Then Kupp comes back, and you see a major hit in his production. Stafford just kind of got comfortable with Nakua. He liked his routes that he was running, where he was end up being placed on the field for him, kind of just in that sight for Stafford. And you just see it. Kupp is not as good as he was last year. I know obviously he was in and out of injuries last year, but I kind of compare it to that situation, that it could be like that. Dobbs is just extremely comfortable with his guys that he has now, and Jefferson kind of could be the odd man out.
Yeah, so like you said, Nakua, obviously the clear like favorite while Kupp was out. But I am actually gonna disagree with you on that. Kupp did not fall off at all, in my opinion. The first week Kupp came back, he led the team in receiving with 118 yards. He led it again the next week with 148 yards. Puka popped off the week after that with 154, which
look at Kupp's last 3 games. Sure.
Yeah, look at Puka's last 3 games. Puka hasn't done that great either in the last 3 games. Neither of them have, and that's probably because Matthew Stafford's been hurt. With no Matthew Stafford, I don't think either of their productions are that great. But I do agree with you when you say that Kupp isn't the same as last year. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm disagreeing with that Kupp's production is. Let me like specify a little bit. What I'm disagreeing with is that Kupp's production took a hit because of Nakua. I think both of them help each other very well, and I think that you can just see that based off of both of their productions when Kupp came back. Those first 2 games that Kupp was back, they both played very well. They both had very good games. In that game against Pittsburgh, if I could see the fucking stats for the game, I can't even see them. I believe they both did well in that game.
Kupp did not. Nakua did.
Kupp did not. Okay. Well, regardless, I think when Kupp came back, it helped out Kupp and Nakua. When Jay Jettas comes back, I think if it does anything, in my opinion, I think it will help boost Hawk and Addison a little bit, because obviously JJ's going to get double teamed, obviously, right? But at the same time, when Jay Jettis does get targeted, it's it's hard to explain, but you know what I mean, though, right? Like when he comes back, in my opinion, it's only going to help the other two because then they're going to get open even more than they already are without JJ. I don't know. I feel like something inside of me it's telling me that it's just going to be a well-powered machine when JJ comes back.
Yeah, and I honestly I agree with you. I mean, you can't not put someone like Jefferson. Jefferson is not going to hold the team down, if that makes sense. No matter what offense or team you put Jefferson on, he's only going to help their team. He's not a selfish player that demands the ball. But yeah, I was just kind of throwing that out as like a reference. Like potentially you could kind of see what's going on in Los Angeles. Could you compare it to something that's going on in Minnesota when Jefferson does come back?
Right. Real quick, just because I want to, I don't know. I'm not trying to like say you're wrong or anything, but as far as the Cup Puka thing, it's really weird actually because if you look at their like stats, when Cup first came back, his first game back was against Philly. He did really good. Puka actually didn't do that great. Against Arizona, Cup did amazing as well. Again, Puka didn't do that great at all. Pittsburgh, Puka did great. Cup did not good. And then for the last 2 weeks, they've both been kind of not good. And that has to do with Matthew Stafford getting hurt.
To me, it sounds like that Los Angeles does not know how to play those two together. They don't know what works best to make both of them succeed. It seems like it's either one or the other every week.
Yeah.
I think if they do figure it out, though, that could be a serious threat.
I mean, they're both insane. Like we've already seen it with Puka. We've already seen it with Cup. They're both very good receivers, and if they can figure out how to get both of them to work, then I mean, shit, dude, that could be one of the best receiving duos in the league. Next to probably. I'm trying to think. I'm blanking on receiver duos. Next to Smitty and AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cup and Puka could be up there if they can figure out how to get both of them to shine.
Right.
And again, like I said, with Matthew Stafford getting hurt and then both of their productions kind of dipping, I don't think that's to their fault. I think that's just because they didn't actually have a QB to throw to them. So. We'll see. Hopefully they can both produce very well. But, yeah, I guess my final statement is when Jay Jettis comes back, I don't think we'll see any – I don't think we'll see any, like, fighting over, who the number one target is or anything like that. I think when JJ comes back, he will still be the top guy, and I think he'll still do very well. He is coming off of an injury, though. So we got to remember that, too. So if he has a rough first game back, I wouldn't be surprised. Because he is coming off of an injury. So, you don't expect like a 150-yard game first game back from injury. You know what I mean? So
Jefferson did say that, in his own words, he said that he is not coming back to the field until he feels that he is 100%.
Yeah, which I love, because we do not need him coming back soon just to get hurt. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's worst case scenario.
Or make him the focus of your offense, and he's not able to produce the way he normally can be because he is still kind of nagging that injury.
Right.
So that's what next week. So they play the Broncos this week. Next week they play Monday Night Football against the Bears. Then they have a bye week, and a lot of people are thinking he's going to come back after that bye week. So that
would make a lot of sense.
Practically another whole month before we see Jettis on the field again, and
won't see him until just about December. Yeah.
So, just another kind of storyline to keep up with over the next couple days, next couple weeks, really.
Yeah, but I think I think he knows. Jay Jettis knows how good this team is. he knows the boys. He knows how good everyone is. He knows what this team can do. So, I think that has to do a lot with, him putting his trust in the team to keep winning, keep performing well with him out, so, he can keep healing and get to 100%, even 110%. That way when he comes back, he can just be right back like he never left. You know what I mean? So, he's a good leader. He's a great leader, and yeah, go ahead.
Up until this point, Jefferson has yet to miss a game, and then all of a sudden he goes down, and we're looking at like 3 months without Jefferson, which is just crazy in my opinion. That somebody that never misses a game, he has yet to miss a game in his NFL career, all of a sudden is out for a while.
Yeah, and as a Vikings fan, it has sucked. I can tell you that. All right, Parker.
Josh,
with week 10 out of the way and week 11 coming up, what do you see this week that interests you? What do you want to see this coming week, and what are things that might worry you, if anything?
Man. Thursday night football. We finally got another great game for Thursday night. Not Vikings. Bengals, Ravens. Both teams coming off of losses. I know Josh, me and you, we talked about how great the Ravens have been, and then all of a sudden they lose. The Bengals, I talked about them whenever we were talking about our Super Bowl favorites. I even threw the Bengals in there. They lose. Both teams coming off games that they pretty much should have won. The Ravens.
They're coming into this game pissed. Like
yeah.
Not only are they pissed, but this is a rivalry game. So I mean,
it's a rivalry game. It's a big matchup for their division.
Yeah.
And I mean, both those losses were at home too, which just makes it so much worse.
Yeah.
Especially, I do want to the Ravens. They lost to the Browns in a game that really saw them collapse in the fourth quarter. So, as far as you're talking about teams being pissed, it should.
I mean,
Ravens.
that game is so annoying, and I know our buddy Caleb kind of talked about it in our group chat, but like the way they started that game off was so good. Like you couldn't have asked for a better start. They started the game off with a pick six and a 70-yard rushing touchdown. And they went up 14-0 in the first quarter before like 5 minutes even passed in the game. And then after that, it was like their momentum just slowly fell and slowly went away. And then they just lost all momentum, and then the fourth quarter came, and then they blew it. It's just so aggravating because it's not like it's not like Lamar. Well, actually, Lamar actually did have a kind of mediocre game, but
he can't do everything.
Yeah, he can't do everything, and they shut down Mark Andrews. Zay Flowers had an okay game, but all things considered, they shut down the pass, they shut down the run, and does that say more about the Ravens losing that game, or does that say more about the Browns and how good their defense is?
Yes and no. The Browns have a phenomenal defense, and they continue to show it week in and week out how good of a defense they truly are. But for the Ravens standpoint, I don't necessarily want to look too deep into that game. I think it just came down to the Browns just having a really good fourth quarter, second half, really. And the Ravens just, they didn't have it all there that game, or they were just they were slacking. I did not watch that game. I did not watch Browns-Ravens. But me personally, this game happens, the Ravens lose, and I'm like, oh, yep, the Ravens, they need to tear it down. They're not, Lamar Jackson's not the answer. I'm not pressing the panic button just yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, they're sitting there at 7-3 still. One of the best records in the NFL. They lost to a very good defense, like you said, in the Browns. Mm-hmm. Another team that is, they're 6-3. So I mean, Yeah, just me personally, and same with the Bengals game as well. I don't the Bengals lost to the Texans. Neither of those games really concern me too much. And it's really gonna be a interesting matchup come Thursday.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a hell of a game. And I mean, man, the AFC is so tight right now. Like it is a close race for, top of the AFC. Cuz
The Browns,
I personally wouldn't say the Chiefs have solidified themselves as the top of the AFC.
no, absolutely
And
not, absolutely not.
and right behind them on their tail, you got the Ravens. Right behind them, you got the Dolphins. Potentially the Steelers. I don't know. I honestly don't know how they keep finding ways to win games because they're really not that good of a team. I don't think. Yet they're 6-3. Yeah, you got the Jags who are coming off of a brutal loss to the 49ers. Just absolutely embarrassing. But the Jags are there. The Browns are looking good. Deshaun Watson is kind of feeling up on them defenses. Like he's used to. All pun intended. But I mean, him and Coop, that connection looks crazy. For the past few weeks, it's looked insane. The Texans, are the Texans up there? The Bengals, obviously. I mean, and the Bills, if the Bills can turn it around, the AFC is just stacked.
Bloodbath right now.
And it's just so much is happening in the AFC. So much can happen. I'm just excited. I'm excited to watch the AFC, and it's not even the conference that my favorite team is in. Which I will say, my team started out the season at the bottom of the NFC, and we are now towards the top. So that makes me happy.
And I mean, there's a chance after this upcoming week that the Steelers are actually leading the AFC North, which is just crazy. If they beat the Browns and the Bengals beat the Ravens, I mean, me personally, if you're just looking at that AFC North, the Steelers are the clear odd one out of those three, in my opinion. I mean, all three of the other teams excel at something, whether it's the Ravens quarterback play, the Browns defense, the Bengals stacked wide receiver room. The Steelers don't really succeed at a need or a position, something like that, compared to the other three teams. And the fact that the Steelers can have that chance to be at the top of the North really just, in my opinion, says a lot about Mike Tomlin and how good of a coach he really is.
Yeah, look, Parker, they're 6-3 and they have a negative 26 differential. They allow more points than they force. I mean,
that's crazy. That's insane.
I mean, what? How are you 6-3? You near the top of your conference. I mean, we're looking at another Minnesota Vikings from 2022 right now. I mean, it's just, yeah. I feel how every other fan felt about us last year. This has to be how people felt because I just don't know how they're 6-3 with more points allowed and a negative point differential. But while we're on the topic of point differential,
really quick, the difference from last year's Vikings team and this year's Steelers team is you look at that Vikings team from last year and you knew they had a chance just because of their offense, how good their offense is, how many big names they have on their offense.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the Steelers team this year, dude, Kenny Pickett's their quarterback.
Yeah, and he's not playing great by any means.
No. Deontay Johnson is their number one receiver. Who's number two?
I would say it's George Pickens, but
the fact that we have to even think about it.
Yeah, I would say George Pickens for sure, but he's complaining about how many targets he gets a game. So I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Just their offense, it's strange. That's the difference between this year's Steelers team and last year's Minnesota team is because you could see where the Vikings could pull out these wins.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers, on the other hand, I don't know how they're doing it every week.
Yeah. But one thing I just wanted to point out, last week we were talking about how good the Ravens were. We were gushing about how good the Ravens were. And then, they turn around and lose. But I asked you this question already. I asked you, does that say more about the Ravens or does that say more about the Browns? Well, in my opinion, I still think the Ravens are tip of the top this year because their point differential is insane. They have a plus 113 point differential. And if I'm not mistaken, that's leading the league right now by at least 10 maybe. No, sorry, the 49ers have the second best at plus 109. But I mean, plus 113 is just insane. And I think if you look at their points forced and points allowed, their defense is playing phenomenal. They have one of the best defenses in the league on top of having one of the best offenses in the league. So, I mean, This is like, their record's not as good, but this is flashes of 2019 Ravens. Sorry, 2018 Ravens.
And again, I think that offense is what I said last week. And obviously, I know they didn't kind of have that good of a running game against the Browns. Could be because of the defense again, but I think it all just is because they're finally utilizing the run game as they should with having so many talented running backs back there. And I think now that they finally kind of are implementing them into the offense, that's why we're seeing such good success and so many points scored.
Yeah, I mean they just look great. They just look great this year overall.
Yeah.
Not too many holes. Like not many complaints about them. And Lamar's having a fantastic season. So, there's not many complaints about like anything really. I mean, he's spreading the ball around like plenty. Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews both respectively over 500 yards on the season. Gus Edwards is playing really good. He's got 502 yards. Lamar's right behind him with 481. And I think Lamar is showing his I think Lamar is especially this year, he's showing that, hey, like I haven't lost a step at all in my passing or rushing.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's just that loss to the Browns. I just don't look into if you're a Ravens fan, don't look too much into it. Don't think that it is time to hit the panic button. You're not gonna win a Super Bowl with this roster.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
This team is very much still a Super Bowl contender in my opinion.
Yeah.
And man, they're good. They're good, man.
Yeah, they're really good.
On the other side of the week, though, jumping from Thursday all the way to Monday.
Yeah, I was actually just gonna say, this week's slate is not that good, like at all, until you look at Monday, which is the end of the week.
Rematch.
Yeah, the Super Bowl rematch.
The Kelsey brothers are back at it again. What do you see? What are you expecting to happen? What do you think will happen and want to happen?
I don't know. I don't really know if I want anything to happen, to be honest. I guess, yeah, I don't know. I guess prediction-wise, I think the Eagles are going to take it, personally.
Me as well.
I still just think the Eagles are a more well-rounded team. However, the Chiefs' secondary has looked really good this year. They've locked down some of the best. And if they can lock down Smitty and AJ, then, we could see some problems. And the Chiefs could run away with this thing. And, obviously, they got Patrick Mahomes at the helm with Kelsey. We know what that offense is capable of.
And on the other side, the secondary for the Eagles have shown some real signs of struggling play.
Yeah, exactly. Like they've shown cracks in their game. So it's a little sketchy looking for the Eagles defense compared to Chiefs defense, but I think I still lean more towards the Eagles.
I do too. I think, like you said,
even
overall,
though it's at Arrowhead.
and that honestly, the Chiefs Stadium, Arrowhead, is one of the few stadiums that really could decide a game, just because how loud and how much their fans get into these games. Well, I say that I feel like we continue to see these really good stadiums that these fans are so like die hard for their team. We keep seeing these teams lose, like the Ravens last week, the Bengals last week, the Bills last week. All those were home games that they lost, and those are some of the I guess quote unquote best fan bases in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that could play less of a factor than I would think, but I mean, Arrowhead is one of the hardest places to play at. It's been proven time and time again. So that
for sure.
But I just don't know.
Yeah.
But like you said, overall, I think the Eagles have a more overall rounded, better team than the Chiefs do. Mm-hmm. I hope it's a shootout, man. I really do. I hope it's a 30, 40 to 40 game type of game we have on our hands here on Monday.
That'd be awesome. That would be really awesome. Yeah, I would love that. Let's see here. What else we got? What else do you want to talk about?
Give me 1 second. Let me go back to these.
Because the slate's really not that good. So, like, do you have any, like, fantasy talk maybe? Or you want to talk
really
about...
quick, one game that could end up playing a factor as we get closer and closer to the end of the season is the Titans and the Jaguars. And the reason I'm not saying that because the Titans definitely are not a playoff team this year, but if they do somehow pull off a win against the Jaguars, we are going to see that the Texans could be leading the AFC South. And I find it crazy. I find it absolutely insane that the Texans legitimately have a shot to win the AFC South. I don't think I've ever said that.
Yeah, that's wild for sure. That's crazy.
But yeah, you said you want to talk about a little fantasy?
Yeah, if you're down, yeah, we can talk about a little fantasy.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's see. Well, I could say this most recent week, I had a rough outing. Just to start off, in one of my leagues, I scored 162. That's a lot of points, right?
It is.
The person I played against scored 181.
That's more than you, Josh.
I scored the second most points in the league and still lost because I played the person who scored the most in the league. And that hurts. But what I will say is I'm kind of happy that happened because it shows a lot of potential in my team. I know it's fantasy, so it's a lot of fucking luck. I won't lie. Like, it just is. It's a fact. But
it is.
I had Jalen Hurts on a bye, Isaiah Pacheco on a bye, Cooper Kupp on a bye. Like, I had 3 of my, like, 4 best players not playing last week, and I still scored 160. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of happy about my team's performance, not going to lie. And then in my other league, in our league, Parker, I fell to Mason. I lost by 6 points.
Oh, that's a bad loss.
That is a bad loss. For all the listeners, Mason is last in our league right now. And I was second. I am now third. Yeah,
it's been a rough year for fantasy for me. I'm not gonna lie. The league that me and you are in, I'm sitting at after this week. I'm sitting there at 5-5, which to the normal person that may not be bad, but you look at my team and my team is just they're scraping by. They're praying that they can get into the playoffs. That's all they're trying to do. And obviously the big hit is Justin Jefferson. I don't have Jefferson, and seems like I won't have Justin Jefferson for a while.
I will say, though, as of right now, you are in the playoffs. Like, if the season ended today, you are in the playoffs. And so, I don't know what your schedule looks like for the rest of the season, but if you can keep scraping wins, you're looking pretty for the playoffs.
That's what I was about to say. I have a fairly tough end of the season. My final 4 games, are against everybody besides Mason has a winning record, including I end the season against you.
Oh.
As of right now, I am projected to lose every single game for the end of the season. Now, that doesn't include bye weeks and stuff like that. But, I started out 4-0, then followed it up with a 4-game losing streak. Got a win, then another loss. So, I mean, like I said, I'm just trying to pull the boys, trying to get them hyped, ready to go, just to get into the playoffs. I'm making questionable starts.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I will
No, you're good.
say, if you are actually in a very interesting spot, Parker, because we said Jay Jettis might come back week 14, correct?
Yeah.
If you scrape by and you wind up needing to win week 14 to make the playoffs in our league, we just so happen to play week 14. So, if we're thinking correctly, you could get Jay Jettis back in a must-win game, which would be huge, especially, I guess, against me.
I am sitting here looking at my team right now, and interesting enough, they have Justin Jefferson projected points. Now, that doesn't mean anything at all. But
for this week?
For this week. They have him projected 17.9 points.
Damn.
Now, again, like I said, that doesn't mean anything at all. It's literally just the app putting some points, a number there. But the fact that they are doing enough to even project how many points he will score, that could mean something. That could mean something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't think he's gonna come back. But the other thing. So I'm in 4 leagues altogether, and it's been a rough year altogether. The league that I am most entertaining as of right now is another league that I'm in with my father and a couple of his buddies. I have a decent amount of money in this league. Let me read you my lineup if you don't mind. My team is good, man. And we continue to lose, and it's so frustrating. So, at quarterback, I have Mahomes. My running back room consists of Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Gus Edwards, Damian Pierce, and Jalen Warren. My wide receiver room looks like Adam Thielen, Michael Pittman Jr., Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, Drake London. Have a tight end in Evan Ingram, who is one of he's a top 10 tight end this year. And I'm sitting at 4-6, man. I'm sitting at 4-6. You want to talk about a bloodbath? It is gonna be who gets that last playoff spot. I'm not out of it. I'm just a game out of the playoffs. But I mean, again, it's like the other league. The boys just aren't producing like they should at the end of the day. And it's so frustrating and irritating, especially in this league with a stacked team that I have. I'm projected to win every week by like 20 or more, and then I end up losing by 50.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't know what the answer is in any league. Who's going to save me? I've been making some irrational decisions. Some might say I'm manager of the year. Some might say I need to be fired.
Well, I would hate to see you fired because knowing you personally, you're a great guy, man.
I know. I'm just trying to put food on the table for the kids. That's all I'm doing.
I respect that wholeheartedly. I will say, I have been historically pretty good at fantasy. In my ESPN league that I'm in with my friends in Philly, I have made the playoffs every year. So I have a pretty good track record of making it to the playoffs. I just don't have a very good track record of making it to the big game. The team just can't perform when it comes.
Are some
time.
of your buddies? Are they gonna? Do you still want to do that dynasty league?
Yeah, I'm still down.
Are they going to be some of those guys? Are they going to be in that league?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. That's more or less what I'm looking forward to. So for everybody, next year we are starting me and Josh are going to start a dynasty league and kind of just keep it going year after year. I've never done a Dynasty League, and I'm extremely excited. And I feel like that is gonna. I just feel like it's gonna be a lot of fun. Just how much is riding on these rookies, and just to see their potential and see them grow, and that you have them on their team for how many ever years. So I'm really looking forward to next year for fantasy wise.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait. I love fantasy, even though it's 99% luck. I love it. I love fantasy.
Oh yeah. It's something that, it depends on who you ask. Some people just enjoy the game for what it is. For me, it's a way to stay engaged, and I turn on Sunday and I see games like the Cardinals and the Texans this upcoming Sunday. Games like that, I don't have a care in the world who wins that game. But with fantasy, it's like, hold up, I got a player on this team. It makes me root for them. It makes me just want to see them do good. And on the other end, it makes me want to see that players that I'm playing against do terrible.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It makes me way more engaged in the game, which I already love football to begin with, but nothing hurts than nothing. A little bit more engagement doesn't hurt. You know what I mean?
Right, and for me, you look at something like college football that obviously you have just like the atmospheres, and you have the hometown teams and the rivalries that way, and just who's the better school. You just have that college football atmosphere, and us living in Louisville, we don't necessarily have that NFL team. I guess technically the closest team is the Cincinnati Bengals, but we don't have that spark of a professional team. Which, by the way, if there is anybody listening, Louisville would love to have a professional football team. I think it would go perfect for the city.
Yes, please. Please.
But for us not having a professional team, it kind of makes up for that, and just a way to like really love the game of professional football that college football does not offer.
Yeah.
Which, with NIL deals, we sometime in the future, we potentially could see a fantasy football college league.
That would be interesting.
Potentially. It really, it really would. That would be insane, actually.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. Which, speaking of NIL, holy shit, I have so much that I want to talk about in the college episode this week.
Like what?
Just like recruiting and
okay.
Louisville specifically, recruiting talk, and there's just a lot, and also some interesting things that came out about the Louisville-Kentucky game. So, which you already know me and Parker are going to, but this is not the college episode, so we'll talk about that.
yeah, we got a lot to talk about on that college football episode, and just especially with the Louisville Cardinals. Not trying to get too into it, but every week goes by, they got a chance to make the playoffs. Increasingly every single week, every win.
Yeah, it's getting
the Wildcats.
It's getting more and more interesting.
Come in and break their hearts.
Honestly, would not surprise me after the last few years.
But yeah, really, Josh, is there anything else that you kind of want to go over for this upcoming week?
I don't think so. That's all in my opinion. That's all from me.
Alrighty. Well, to everybody listening, that is the NFL podcast. Kind of nothing too crazy. Nothing eye popping. Nothing crazy. Just another day in the office. But like you said, Josh,
appreciate you guys for listening.
We got college football coming to you on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Potentially sometime this week, we got a college basketball episode.
Yes, sir.
I could go on about college basketball, as here in about an hour from now, the Kentucky Wildcats are going to tip off against the Kansas Jayhawks.
I could honestly not speak more about basketball. As in
a good way or a bad way?
As in a bad way. As in, I honestly don't even want to talk about basketball. But it's about that time, so. you know,
It is.
Got to do my part for the pod.
Is it you don't want to talk about basketball because you don't want football to end, or you just don't want to talk about college football because Louisville sucks?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, I just love football, but also, you know.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, Josh, any words to end it off here?
I'm gonna pull a U. I'm gonna pull a U for this episode. No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Well, happy birthday to my boy Finn, my dog.
Yeah.
Just,
literally, his dog.
Literally my dog, my animal. It's his
He
birthday
should be the
today,
thumbnail for this episode.
Is that what we should do?
He should be let's make Finn the thumbnail for this episode.
So, other than that, thank you for listening, everybody, and that
Yeah.
is going to do it from Take His Whistle.
Yep. Thank you guys. See you guys.